Manual mode, no presets allowed. Candid frames break through the crowd. Light chasers, night gazers, exposure brilliant. Vahagraphy, the art of battle and resilience. Film or digital, doesn't matter the tool. Vahagraphy style, making pixels rule. Dynamic range, capturing soul in sequence. Glow truck clicks, beyond earthly pretense. Vahagraphy, freeze moments in flight. Beat soul levels, aiming for the sight. Flash pop, shutter drop, worlds in a blink. Memories inked in digital ink.
What's good, guys? Welcome to another episode of Vahagraphy Talk Live. Today is going to be a very cool episode, something I'm looking forward to. Our guest today, David Cruz, also known as the Drunk, wedding photographer in the house. What's up, Dave?
Mushy. Thank you for having me on again. Good morning.
Yeah, man. It's great having you, man. It's great having you. We're gonna have a great discussion. Today's topic of discussion is gonna be that story that's like went global in the photography community, the Sepia Bride.
Yes.
Bridezilla story, which I didn't even hear about it until you made me aware of the story.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have heard about it had it not been for the homie Ryan Troy. He uploaded the video. When was it? Like a week ago, 2 weeks ago? And it was pretty old then, so huge shout out to Ryan Troy for
Ryan.
He had a good take on it, so that's why I wanted to come in and talk about it. So
yeah, well, we're gonna play some clips, and shout out to Ryan Troy, a buddy of mine on YouTube. Actually, we had some live streams way back in the early days, me and him. But Ryan, I'm using some of your videos here just for the clips, and shout out to you, Ryan Troy. Check him out on YouTube. All right, so.
Don't give us a copyright strike.
Yeah,
fair use.
Yeah, I thought that this would be important for actual wedding photographers to kind of talk about the story, react to the story, and then give our takes, because you photographers, and then there's wedding photographers. Like we're in it, we do this thing. And this is perfect for all you beginner wedding photographers. I have my take on it. And then, because I kind of summarized how I feel about this whole situation. And then we'll get your take. And then I just want, and the audience take. By the way, I want to go ahead and say hello to everyone coming in right now in the comment section. Albert is in the house. What's up? He says hello to all. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering why this is on a Monday, this is on a Monday because I'm traveling tomorrow for a gig. I'll be out of town, so I didn't want to miss this week. So I said, let's do it on a Monday. It's kind of like an off day, but hopefully there'll be a lot of replays on this, because a lot of my videos get replayed most of the time. But until I get to the swing of things in the live stream where I can just hone in on Tuesday, 10 a.m., and people get used to the time slot, it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take a couple of weeks just for people to get used to when I'm all live. But this week, guys, is an exception. Sorry. But another thing, you could listen to this on YouTube music app, which gives you the advantage of, if you're driving, if you're working out, if you're cooking, whatever, you can actually shut off your phone and lock it, and then you can actually play it like any podcast. On YouTube, if you're using the YouTube app, you can't shut it off. Once you shut off the YouTube app, it's if you lock the phone and the screen is off, you can't, the video cuts. What the YouTube music app lets you do is listen to it as an audio file. So it's pretty cool. You can listen to this right now on the YouTube music app. One more thing I want to just clear out of the way.
I'm not much to look at, so listen to audio only.
Another thing I want to clear out of the way is I'm making some changes on the channel. If you're not aware, if you haven't checked out my communities tab, I'm not going to get into it here, but if you watch my latest video, there's changes on this channel that took effect 3-4 days ago. So I'm looking forward to the new direction on my channel. So, all right, let's get that out of the way. If you want to learn more about that, just go to the communities tab on my channel and you can read all about it. I wrote a nice little story on that and why I'm doing it, and watch my latest video on that. By the way, did you get a chance to watch my video on It's About Time YouTube and the hate and stuff?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I always watch all your videos. Yeah. And
Yeah,
when I watch your videos, I like put like a little timestamp. And the reason why I do that is to let people know. And this, I do this for everybody, that I am actually paying attention. But more so sometimes because like people put like a random comment, and I'm like, well, what are you talking about? So I try to be courteous for like everybody else and put a little timestamp on it.
yeah. I just thought I'd.
But yeah, but to touch on that, yeah, man, and it's one of the reasons why I don't follow a lot of communities, like, because I like random things, not just photography. I'm into conspiracy theories, I'm into architecture, and et cetera, et cetera. But then like I'm only involved with the community enough, or like I watch some videos, but then I try not to get too involved, because like the longer you stay in the community, or like the digger you deep, like you find out there's like a bunch of toxic people.
Yeah. Well, dude, like I was just in this thing where I was just, one thing led to another, and I was making videos that I really like second guessed myself. And it's about me. Like, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. That video was about me and what I need to do moving forward. And I found myself making content that really wasn't this channel's like meaning when I started it. So I was like, hold on, guys, let me do this. I actually deleted 500 videos from my channel.
Oh, no way. Hey, hopefully you didn't delete like all the like your story time videos, where like you would talk
some of them I deleted, but
okay.
Dude, I went
those are my favorite videos of yours.
Yeah, one by one, I went and said, you know what, this is it makes the cut. It doesn't make the cut. A lot of the new stuff is gone, and then all that stuff. But all the reviews, I'm gonna go ahead and do things that are like meaningful to what I want to do, and I think would impact the viewer. To teach, to help people select their gears, to beginner photographers, business tips. And fun, you know what I mean? Without calling people out, I was getting into that, and at the time it was justified because I was doing news pieces and I was protecting a brand. But then I realized these brands are not paying my bills. Why am I really getting all heated over what somebody else says about a camera? I can care less anymore. So, but anyway, Long Rider.
I am going to be calling out some people in this video, not by name or anything. So I'll try to keep the name to a minimum.
Yeah, and then I actually just to say something about this, I actually emailed a couple of people explaining the reason why I'm doing this. A couple of people that will remain nameless, but it's funny I didn't get a response back. So it's all good, man. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. If the haters are gonna hate, let them hate. Political views, I'm gonna stay away from, because I'll be honest with you, like, this is not a political channel, and I don't gain anything from making political videos. I'm passionate about my country.
Well, you do get good engagement. I did notice that your political stances tend to get pretty good engagement, but it's with anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm passionate about this country, and when that thing happened. And when that thing happened, I was angry, and I wanted to express myself. But then I realized, it's really hurting me than helping me. And my voice is really not going to move the needle in any which way.
Well,
so it doesn't matter. I'm actually hurting myself than helping it. So, all right.
Because on my Instagram, really quickly, just to touch on that, on my Instagram, I don't specifically say anything political, but I do post political memes. And people seem to like those. I mean, and the only reason why I think people still like is because people are still there. So, but I never say this is what I think. I just post a meme and I let people kind of figure out, like, take it as you will. So
yeah. What you can do, man? I mean, everybody has their own beliefs. Everybody has their own ideology. It's just, I believe that everybody should have somewhat of a common sense kind of way of thinking. And some of the things that we see going on around us is just blows my mind.
As they say, common sense is not so common these days.
What's up, King Crook? What's going on? Long Rider also in the house from New York, I think. New Jersey, New York. Okay, so we're gonna get started. All right, I have some clips lined up.
Oh, and really quickly for anybody new watching, my take is from, obviously, as you can see from the title, I am the drunk wedding photographer, and I've been doing this for a while, so that's my background on why I feel I'm qualified to give an opinion on what happened with the Sepia Bride, Sepia photographer, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, and it's an interesting story. And if you're not aware of what's going on, some context here. Actually, a customer paid a lot of money for a wedding photographer, and she's upset. She's upset, but we'll get into the gist of it. This is the thing of social media, but I'll give you my take and what should have happened, and what didn't happen on that front.
Yeah.
But I thought it was an interesting story. Bridezillas are part of the business. You're gonna run into them.
Yeah, yes and no. It depends. I feel like in certain markets, like you there's more bridezillas to be expected than in other markets. But I also get into that because I think one thing that I notice on a lot of comments, because I watch different videos of the situation, and a lot of people weren't talking about how the photographer was in the 8 to 10K market. And that's very important because once you step into that market, it's very different, like the type of clients that you start booking in that market.
And I have an opinion on that $8,000 photographer, which I have an opinion on what the photographer did that shouldn't have, he or she shouldn't have done. Man, guys, she's just right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Guys, the story is like photography, like headline news. Like this is like it blew up. So if you're a wedding photographer, it's very interesting.
Or even not even a wedding photographer, you're just in business. You have to deal with clients. This is something that you can apply to your business, and whether you take the client side or the photographer side, kind of something to think about, because we all do eventually meet a client like this, or in a situation like this. We fall into a situation like this. So
yeah. So if you guys joining me right now, Charles Morris, what's happening? John Hughes, nice to have you guys. It's an off day for me tomorrow. I'm traveling, so I wanted to get one live stream in the books after the week. All right, so let's get started. I prepared some clips from Mr. Ryan Troy's video. Sorry, Ryan, I used your video.
Huge shout out. You don't have the sound effects.
We're gonna play them, and it's basically that bride telling her side of the story on Instagram.
I wouldn't call her a bridezilla, because I thought you were gonna say bridezilla.
Right.
Well, we'll watch because I don't think her demands were too bridezilla-ish, but we'll get to that.
All right, here's clip number 1, and let's react to it. And by the way, we're both wedding photographers, so let's see what we can do. Here we go.
Imagine paying almost $8,000 for a wedding photographer, and when you raised your concerns, they threatened to sue you for slander if you spoke your truth. So let's get into a little story time. So I found my wedding photographer on Instagram, like a majority of people in this day and age do. Her feed looked so bright, airy, but also had this goldenness to it, and I loved that. But the goldenness that it had still captured the beauty of like colors, blue, your skin tone, etc. You can see this is one of the photos from our welcome dinner party the night before our wedding, and it's a gorgeous photo, right? So this is when shit gets a little crazier. Our wedding day was overcast. Nothing you can really do about that. However, photographers should know how to shoot in an overcast situation.
Your take on that clip? Your thoughts?
Oh, I go first? Oh, man. All right. Well, first of all, for context, the photographer in question, she has like a golden yellow look to her photos, right? So I think on Ryan's story channel, he links to the photographer, or somebody in there linked to the photographer. And the client, she describes the work as light and, well, not light, light and airy, right? She said light and airy. And that is not light and airy. Light and airy is like neutral, pastel, overexposed, white skies, etc. So that's mistake number 1 on the client side, right? Because she's describing something that is clearly not what the photographer is posting. In fact, I don't even know what that look is called, like that sepia look, that yellow look, which
It's
is
not really
very.
sepia. She's using the wrong word. I don't know why
She's
they
obviously
labeled her
using the,
sepia.
yeah, but I don't know what the proper, because it is a filter, and that filter, believe it or not, is actually really popular here in LA, but more like on the east side of LA, like San Bernardino, and even here where I live in the Antelope Valley, like a lot of photographers have that look, and there's nothing wrong with that look. I like, but it's not my preferred look. But I think that's mistake number one on the client side, where she clearly didn't associate the light and airy look to this photographer. And then the other thing is Instagram. Like, I feel that as a client, you should not base your decision just on the Instagram portfolio alone, because as social media, what do we post on social media? We post the best, things that we like. Yeah, everything's curated, so you can't. And then actually down the road, I do want to talk about the photographer and how she sent the client a gallery, but I it's
But
a cluster.
I think
That's
that
my take first. I feel that the client wasn't fully aware on the look that she wanted from
yeah,
the get-go.
I think that first of all, big mistake. If you're posting portfolios on Instagram, I think
Yeah.
you should have a wide variety of images, not just one traditional look
Yeah.
with presets. And I'll get into the presets thing, but yeah, I mean, look, everybody. Okay, I got my take on this, but let's
Yeah.
go to click number 2 real quick.
The photos, and of course right away I'm like, oh my god, I love them, I love every single one of them, I'm like beaming of excitement. And then for about 30 days I'm staring at the photos and I'm like, why is there something bothering me? Like, well, I couldn't put my finger on it until I realized I'm a makeup artist. Okay, I was a makeup artist in the wedding industry for years, and I did my own makeup for my wedding, and I'm staring at the solo pictures of me and I'm like, I kind of look really pale and my makeup isn't showing at all. Like, my hair has these red highlights in it and I look extremely dull. So I raised my concerns to her and she goes, okay, I charge X, Y, and Z extra to edit photos. I'll edit them to like enhance your makeup and whatever. Great. So what I'm about to show you, the top photo she edited to enhance my makeup. The bottom photo was me in real life. That was my makeup shot on just an iPhone picture. What did she put on my lipstick? What blush am I wearing? Like, what is on my eyes, my skin, everything. So then I raised the concerns to her and she so kindly said, you know what? I don't think we're gonna come to an agreement, so let me send you some of the raws of that moment. So when she sent me the raws, I noticed something. This is the photo that she sent me that I look like I have a black eye in. And this was the raw that I edited to have a brighter, more natural feel. And also I went into my eyes to make them brighter. Then I noticed this photo. This is what she sent me and this is how I edited it. Like, you could see the difference, right? Like the coloring, everything. To me, this is a better edit.
Yes, I could see the difference.
First of all, how the hell is editing of Photoshop supposed to enhance makeup? How does that work? How do you enhance a makeup while editing?
And I have a makeup story down the road too, like, which is gonna, I don't know. And I think we can blame all the filters, all the TikTok filters and the doggy ear filters on Instagram for this, because people, I feel like, and I hate to use the word normie, but, and what I mean by normie is, like just like an average person who isn't really super niche down. Someone who watches mainstream media, obviously has a full-time, 9 to 5, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I consider a normie. And so a normie would associate the filter on Instagram, TikTok, and they would assume that a photographer can do that because if they're paying X amount of money, well, a photographer can also do it. If my free filter can do it, why can't the photographer, who I'm paying X amount do it, right? And I think, so I kind of, not giving her a pass on this one, but I feel like that the average person would kind of think that way.
Yeah, and when she says raw files, does she mean like she actually got the raw files? Like, I don't think so, because you got to kind of know what you're doing with raw files.
Yeah, because
she probably just got high resolution JPEGs.
Probably, more than likely. And I do want to touch on the whole light and airy thing. Like the way she claims she edited the image that she got, that's what I would consider light and airy, not what the photographer gave her. So again, it goes back to my point on how I feel the client, she obviously she wanted light and airy, but it's not what the photographer offered. So I have a little conspiracy theory on that. I think maybe the photographer gave her a good deal or something, or because it's
Good
like
deal on what?
I don't know. Well, because it's like,
$8,000,
well, $8,000 is a lot of money.
and that's not including what she charged
Albums.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, which we'll get into because I have my own take on that. Yaman, I haven't seen you in a while, bro. I hope you're well. What's going on, Yaman? So let's do this. Yeah, because look, this whole thing sounds like a big screw up.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the get-go, right from the get-go.
From the get-go, this shouldn't have escalated to the point where it escalated. And then I will give you why I think that is and what I do to clients never to have this kind of situation come up in the first place.
Yeah.
I know you guys love your presets, man, but presets is not the answer to cover up bad photography, guys. So get off those presets. Yeah, it's really not it's not a solution for better photography, right?
Or if you do use presets, you still have to know how to edit, because a preset is just a base. It's not the end all be all. It's not just slap it on and you're done. Like and I think a lot of photographers who sell presets, they sell it as a one and done thing. Like just slap it on and you're good. But no, that's not how it works. Like you still have to know basic editing. So
exactly.
Presets or not.
Let's play clip number 3. Here we go.
So that brought me to look in even further to every single photo and dissect everything. I then came to the conclusion that I need to reach out to her and tell her that some of the edits felt like they were a preset that was copy pasted and I wasn't happy whatsoever. Especially when I looked through further and noticed that the filter that she put made my teeth look yellow. Like, what is that? My teeth are white. What is that?
Gray card, photographers. Gray card. Carry a gray card. White balance is so important. What the hell is that? What the hell are we looking at? Look at the eyes. Look at the teeth. They're yellow. That's the situation with
Can you put it back and you do like a screen grab of it? Put it back real quick.
Of
the yellow teeth, yellow.
Hold on, let me play it.
So that brought me to look in even further to every single photo and dissect everything. I then came to the conclusion that I need to reach out to her and tell her that some of the edits felt like they were a preset that was copy pasted and I wasn't happy whatsoever. Especially when I looked through further and noticed that the filter that she put made my teeth look yellow. Like, what is that? My teeth are white. What is that?
Honestly, what is that?
Right then there, you can tell like the huge difference between her skin tone and the image skin tone. It's like,
yeah. I know there's AI software that adds your preset without messing with your teeth.
Oh, there is.
I know there's certain things you can do to kind of like take that out and then erase that from the teeth and the eyes. But how's that gonna look, guys? I mean, I'm telling you right now, it's so important. White balance is so important in photography. Get the whites right, and yeah, man. What's your take on this? And she's justified for being pissed. If I get a picture like this, I mean, well, first of all, I think she's taking it a little bit over the top, right? She's over.
But again, it's like if I'm paying $8,000 for something, I better get what I'm expecting. You get what I'm saying? Like I better get perfection. As what's the word? As ludicrous as it might sound, like I expect perfection at that price range. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but these photos are not shot this way. These photos, they're shot. I hope they're not shot with bad color balance and bad exposure. I'm giving the photographer the benefit of the doubt here, because a lot of wedding photographers, they say, I'll fix it in post. I don't need to get it right. No, you need to get it right in camera
as
right
much as
away,
possible.
as much as possible, because the more you play with those sliders, the less clean your image is going to look. So get it right in camera. But hopefully I'm giving this photographer the benefit of the doubt. If she can charge $8,000 for a wedding, to me, in my opinion, she knows what she's doing. Okay, you're not going to go out in there and
You
charge
would
8,000.
assume.
You assume
Mhm.
$8,000. She knows what she's doing. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think she's a newbie, but don't, man, this is turning out to be like a disaster. But I think, in my opinion, the bride is overreacting a little bit. Like she's really like over the top, kind of like, what's the word? What's the word, guys, in the like, let's see.
Bridezilla.
No, Bridezilla,
No.
but she's like over dramatic.
Yeah.
Greg Corker, what's going on, guys? What's going on, Greg? Yeah.
But again,
so,
it's such a weird story because it's like you can't really side with one party 100%, because like they both have like the reasoning as to why they're doing what they're doing, so that's what I think, that's what made this whole thing controversial, because it's like you can't just, it's not black and white 100%.
Yeah. But she sounds like an over dramatic client, and I would hate to have clients like her. But then what I do with clients like this is nip it in the butt right away. I nip it in the butt right away when we meet up. And I know photographers, the economy is tough sometimes, and you want to take every job, no matter the attitude of the clients. But luckily, I have that ability to just turn people down. I don't take every job whatsoever. If I feel like she's coming at me like this when we're negotiating, or not negotiating, but like meeting up for the first time, and I feel like she's gonna be kind of like really needy and this, I go, you know what? I don't think this is a good fit for me.
Yeah, we're not a match.
But I don't make it sound like that. I want to hurt her feelings. I have a friend of mine has a price list that's 4 times what he charges.
Oh yeah. I heard this word. Your videos.
So he lays out like $30,000-$40,000 price list, just so they can turn him down. Because he doesn't have the guts to say, I don't think it's a good fit,
or the heart. He doesn't have the heart to say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
And really quickly, that's really one of the reasons why I rebranded a year ago, is to like super niche down to like a very specific client. Because also, for the record, for those who don't know who I am, I primarily photograph my weddings on 35mm film. So that already, and I hate to use the word segregate, but it already segregates a certain client base who would appreciate their wedding being photographed on film. And not everybody is into that, or is willing to pay for that, or is willing to wait for the whole process, to complete, because my clients don't see photos until, I want to say, like minimum 4 months after their wedding. You see photos the same day most of the time. So
you know what's funny? Usually, like Bridezillas like this are on the lower echelon price. Because $8,000 to $10,000, $8,000 to $10,000 is like high end.
It is
mid to high end.
And I want to say like breaking point high end. I want to say it's like
it's like high end
tier, because super high. Because I've seen some of my competitors, they're charging like 15, 20.
Yeah, but 10 grand for photos only. I mean, that you're high end.
Yeah,
you're high end. So
in the 8, that's like breaking in to that market, in my opinion.
Usually, my clients that are paying that much, they're super cool. The ones that are like nickel and diming me are bad.
The ones
like, they're the ones that nitpick and stuff.
Yeah.
So let's go to clip number 4. Here we go.
One last photo example. This is the ocean. It looks like we got married in Seattle. What is that? But again, it's a beautiful photo, I'm not discrediting.
Yeah, this has to do with flash. I mean, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, that's
here.
a flash thing.
Yeah, if you're shooting, if you're exposing for the subject, you're gonna have blown out
You're gonna blow
ocean.
out the background.
The only way to do this is off-camera flash, expose for the background, and
No flash.
there's nothing you can do. I mean, this is tough. This is very tough if you're shooting, and some photographers are quote unquote natural light photographers.
Mhm.
If you're a natural light photographer, then you're gonna have results like this because you're not used flash. There's no way the camera's gonna see what your eye sees, right? So there's no way around this unless you're using flash. So the mistake made here is usually during the negotiation process, if the bride is really liking these type of dramatic shots with the background showing with the off-camera flash, and she's really liking that, I make an emphasis to take an off-camera flash because I know she likes that style.
Yeah.
And if you present her with work like this is not bad work, but if you present her with work like this and she saw your portfolio with the off-camera flash stuff, then you're gonna have a problem. So
Yes. And a lot of photographers don't agree with me on this part, but what I do, what I really emphasize before I even get on a call with a client is for them to send me a mood board. And it doesn't have to be, like a full Pinterest mood board, it's just like 5 pictures on what they expect or what they like. And then I kind of judge, it's like, hey, maybe I'm not for you, just based on what you like.
Yeah.
Obviously the best thing to do is for them to say, I like this photo from your website, I like that photo from your website, but then nobody has time for that. So
And then also educate your
But-
client as much as possible. They
Yeah.
don't know photography. Like
Mhm.
they don't know the odds and ends and technical aspects of, for example, that picture. There's nothing wrong with the composition. It's just physically impossible for the ocean to show up if you're not using flash and using natural light.
yeah.
There's just no way.
And
So
funny enough, on my website, like right before you on the contact page, it says I don't photograph at the beach or near the beach. I have that specifically on my contact form.
notice how the bride is liking the photos, but she
Mhm.
doesn't like some aspects of it.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting the idea that she thinks she paid too much, right? And she's complaining.
Could be.
Like she's complaining because
Buyer's remorse.
I've had customers like that where they think they overspent.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with the photography, but they're like, wait a minute, I don't like this, I don't like that all of a sudden, So I have a couple of pointers. What you can
Okay.
do is if she's going to complain about her look, show her the LCD screen the day of the wedding, a couple of shots. Hey, you like this look? Sure, let's go with that. You like, some people go, oh, I don't like my teeth. Well, make conscious effort if she doesn't like her teeth to not show teeth in some of the shots.
Yeah, don't smile.
Yeah, smile, but I mean, like, she's going to complain. So
Yeah.
you don't want to be one of those photographers that get a bride coming after you. Just as much, and carry notes with you guys. It's so important to carry notes of what the bride
Like,
wants.
what's your good side? Is it your left? Is it your right?
Yeah,
do you prefer to smile? Do you not smile? Which is funny because one of the things that I also ask before initial consultation is like an Instagram handle, so I could kind of lurk through what clients already post. So I could kind of have an idea on maybe they're not picture people, or maybe they are picture people, but they, because you notice patterns, we are creatures of habit after all. So
yeah, everybody has a phone. Everybody has notes on your phone.
Mhm.
Put the date of the wedding, put the bride's name and the groom's name, make notes, take notes during the consultation. So you could go back on your notes and make sure that you're taking pictures that she likes. And another thing, I've been doing this so long that I tell my clients, look, you're paying me for my services. You're paying me for my vision.
Time.
Yeah. And it's in my contract. I reserve the right to take, not in so many words, but like I have the right to take pictures the way I see fit in my discretion. For example, they can come back at you and say, where's the kiss? Where's this? Where's that? Well, you know what? It's in the contract. It's what I feel like. I do all those things, but just in case you don't capture it, they can't come back at you and get pissed off because you have that in the contract.
Yeah, and really quickly to touch on that, how they the old saying is like the rule exists because somebody effed it up for everybody else. Saw my contract about, I want to say about a year, a little bit less than a year ago, like half a year ago. I was in a wedding, and the situation was where the ceremony area was so small that they couldn't like. Okay, so think of a shoebox, right? If you look at a shoebox from like aerial view, think of a shoebox, and then on top is the little the outer, in Spanish we say como se dice, the outer, and then like you have the rows of seats. And during the planning process, I asked the bride, hey, can you leave one little, probably like 2 feet, 3 feet of space on either side so that I could, like squeeze in and then take your pictures and then go in the back so that I can move around. Anyway, long story short, we ended up doing that. But then at the last minute, they had hired a video team. And the video team and I didn't know they were going to have a video team until I showed up to the wedding. And then what the video team did, they had 2 cameras right on each side. And then they also had, essentially they had like 4 cameras and then 1 right in the middle. So they had 2 cameras on each corner and then in the middle. So it blocked my little section, my little hallway that I planned with the bride that I was going to use. Anyway, so what had happened was I ended up missing the key moments, the ring, the first kiss. The photographer, thank God, saved my life, but I don't want to be in that situation again where I get caught with my pants down,
Well, here's a tip for you guys: make friends with the videographer because they capture everything. If you need a screen grab from their video, you can always ask the videographer to just send you a JPEG of like the kiss or the. So I'm sure you can make that thing look pretty.
Yeah, but editing. Still, it's like it goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? Like if the video team comes in, make friends with the photographer and vice versa. So
you know how many times the videographers ask me for photos because they missed something.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? I think it was it was the bouquet toss, and the video team were gone. Like they nowhere to be found. So their equipment was set up, but they were not in the banquet hall. I guess they took a break, and the DJ was inexperienced. Usually the DJ, gets the guys ready before he starts anything major. Okay, the video team's ready, the photographer's ready. Let's do this. Anyway, the DJ didn't do that. I was there, so what I did was I took the shots of the bouquet toss. I was there, but I knew that these guys were not here, and I called them. I texted them. I couldn't get a hold of them. I just turned on their video camera. I just hit record, and I just quickly made the composition kind of okay because I had to do my job too, So I just hit record and that was that. So let's play number 6. Here you go.
Part 2 on my wedding photographer threatening to sue me for slander. Let's go. So I decided to call my photographer after I wasn't happy with all of the edits that were sent to me, especially because it looked lazy and it was just a copy paste preset on every single one of them. I'm gonna show you a little video on just the moment versus the photo, just so you see it further.
Man, you look so good.
Where's
this photo shoot?
The photo. We look like we're in the Rainforest Cafe. What's in the moment?
Yeah. Wow.
Everything. I look like I'm a Simpsons character. So I text her, I said, hey, can you call me? She's like, I'm available at this time. We speak on the phone. I'm about crying on the phone at this point, saying, I'm so unhappy. I need to make.
My thoughts on this. First of all, this went too far when we're talking about slander and I'm going to sue you for slander and this and that. I think the photographer just trying to threat for her to just back off a little bit.
Yeah.
This just went too far, in my opinion. It should never have escalated to this kind of stuff. And when photographers don't call their clients back, this is a big no-no.
See, and we got to really touch on slander. People don't know a lot of people don't know what slander means. Slander is something that you made up to make the other party look bad. Right? That's slander. And in my opinion, the bride, the client, let's just keep it neutral. The client, I don't think she was slandering the photographer per se, because she was expressing her opinion on the photos. So, because I've been in a situation before where a client of mine, she was accusing me of slander, and I'm like, no, lady, like I'm just saying that you owe me money. That's not slander. That's a fact. So, you know.
Albert's like, David, it's called the quinceañera wedding venue.
Which
Probably
venue?
referring to something you said. Quinceañera wedding venue.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I started photographing quinceañeras a long time ago, but I don't do it's because they don't pay enough, and it's essentially a mini wedding. Like it's essentially a whole full scale wedding, in the fact that like you have to show up early, you have to go to the church, you have to go to the park, you have to do all these things. But because it's a mini wedding, they don't want to pay you the wedding price. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not a wedding, but like,
Hey.
yeah, but you're doing the same amount of work.
Hey, but not to talk trash about another wedding photographer,
Mhm.
but in my honest opinion, the stuff that I saw, that doesn't look like $8,000 to $10,000
I
wedding
mean,
photographer. I mean, look, it doesn't.
yeah, I wouldn't call it 8K. I personally wouldn't pay 8K. But as I said, there's a lot of photographers here who are obviously busy with that look, but they're not charging 8K. I want to say they're like in the 3, 4, maybe 5 price range. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, and then the bride was showing video clips versus like shots with filters on them.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's funny because that's kind of one of the well, I have a lot of reasons why I still use film, 35mm film for my weddings, and one of them is because of that. Because I know that there's going to be people with cell phones, right, with iPhones, whatever, Androids, and then they're going to try to use that as a comparison. But I'm like, no, you can't do that with film, So that's kind of like my little backup plan, like just in case something doesn't go as planned.
Yeah.
Like I could say, oh, you can't even look at it. That's how film came out. So
I'm starting to form an opinion here that this whole thing, I don't like the way the photographer is treating the pissed off client. But I get it that the pissed off client is overreacting to images. There's a perfect solution to
because do you have the clip where she where the client makes the demand or the compromise?
Here's the next one. So
Make my wedding album. Is there any way that I could look through all of the raw images and just pick out certain moments that I could then edit myself? I will sign any contract that you want, states that I won't share these photos. They're literally just for a photo album for my family and I, and for Michael and I. And I was practically like begging her and crying on the phone, just saying like, this is my wedding day. Like this would mean so much to me just to be able to get all the raws and edit them myself. I'm not happy. I don't want you to lift another finger, nothing. I will do all the work for you. She's like, you decided that you hired me. You knew my editing style and everything before you hired me. Like, too bad, basically. So now I'm crying even further, and my husband gets on the phone. He's like, please, my wife is so unhappy right now. Like, this is our wedding day. You're holding the photos hostage from us, basically. Like, what are you gonna do with our wedding photos?
So let me get this straight. She charges $8,000 just to like remedy this situation a little bit. I would have said, okay, this bride is a little over the top. She is Bridezilla-ish, right? Let me just give her what she wants and get her out of my hair, right?
That should have been the way the photographer should have handled the situation.
I know,
in my opinion.
I know I know as a photographer you have certain guidelines and certain policies about raw files. But in this particular situation, if I want her out of my system, make her happy, give her the shots, give her the raws. Now it's another thing, like I don't know her workflow, this photographer's, maybe she deleted them, Maybe she didn't shoot raw. Maybe she shot JPEG.
And for those who don't know, the photographer also sells presets, and the presets are that exact same preset that she slapped on this client's work. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, something's going on here that really doesn't make a lot of sense. There's some kind of holdback. Someone's holding something back. Because if I was a photographer, I'd be like, hey, man, screw this. Here's what you want. Are you happy?
Yeah, and again, as a business owner, and not just a photographer, as a business owner, you have to kind of, like really think about it. Is it really worth, the weight in gold of me trying to, stick to my guns with this one client?
No, it's
You
not.
know,
You got paid. You got paid $8,000. And by the way, she might be lying. This client might be lying. But if you got paid $8,000, let's say all the costs involved, you take home $5,000. Still, that's a good pay rate.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Something just doesn't add up with the story. It's starting to sound like something is missing from the story.
From whose side?
Both.
Yeah.
Actually, the photographer's side.
Because there is a video out there where the photographer gives her side, and it's an hour-long interview. But after
this story is this big?
Yeah, but after 5 minutes, I didn't bother. I didn't keep watching because of what she had said. Can I say now what she said? Where it caused me to, or do you want to hold off?
Sure. No.
Obviously, I try to get her side, right? Like the photographer side, and then her side. The interviewer had asked her, "Hey, did you send your client a full gallery so that your client can get a very solid idea on your style of work, et cetera, and how you photograph an entire wedding?" The way the photographer answered the question, it made it seem like she sent a gallery, but the way she phrased it, it sounded like she sent a gallery of like the highlights of like her best work of like a variety of weddings. Again, I don't want to speak for her, but the way she phrased it, it led me to believe that was it. Because me as a photographer, as a wedding photographer, nothing stops me from just sending the client the homepage to all the galleries from a year ago, 2 years ago, etc. Obviously, the client's not going to have the time to look at all of them, but in the spirit of being transparent, I send them the homepage, and then the client, whenever they have a chance to go through, all my photos, they have the opportunity, at their leisure to look at in my entire portfolio. So after she had said that, and then she had, like somewhere at the bottom says, "Oh, you can pick up the photographer's presets here." And I'm like, "Damn, girl, like, and you're still trying to make money?" and again, obviously, we want to pay the rent, but it's like you went in there, but then towards the end, like you're promoting your presets, so it's like.
Well, and here's another video. I think she mentioned something.
That was my reasoning too.
Yeah, but here's another video of, I think she mentions the fact that she they try to upsell her.
We're not asking you to do any more work other than just hand them over and we'll sign whatever you want. We even offered to pay her $1,000. She then says it's gonna be $4,000 for all the raw images. Okay, I understand that raws are never really given out for weddings and wedding photographers, but if I was a wedding photographer and my bride, the one day that she's meant to get married, the one day, and you're not gonna make sure that she's happy? What photos aren't you happy with? Can we select 20 of them? Can we just give you the raws of 20 of them? It'll be $500. What I was willing to work on something like that with her, slams it down, tells me it's $4,000. Too bad, so sorry, you hired me. You knew what you were getting into. Well, no, I did not know that I was gonna be working with someone that wouldn't make sure that the bride was happy at the end of the day, especially when they have to do no other work.
Yeah, $4,000. Come on, bro. She offered you $1,000. I'd be like, shit, I'll take that money. I'll give you the raws and call it a day, dude.
Just call it a day.
What the hell? 4,000? Like, that's just adding salt to the wound. And it sucks. I'm taking the bride side.
Of course, because again, it's like you have to think about it in the customer point of view, right? And then you can apply this to anything. You walk into, I don't know, Target, right? And you walk into Target, you get yourself, I don't know, a TV, right? Buy yourself a TV for $300. It doesn't work. You come in and say, "Oh yeah, we can repair it for you for an extra $200." But it's like, bro, it's like the TV doesn't work.
Bro, you charge your 8,000. You want 4,000 for what? Giving up the raws? Like, is there extra effort here? No, right? You're just giving her files. You're gonna go back and look at these photographs after what she's put you through. You're gonna actually use these photographs for some type of portfolio. No, you're gonna probably put them away and never look at
them ever again.
Right,
and I have a story on that later if we have time.
You want $4,000. I mean, look, man, I'm all for the photographer's rights, but this is bullshit. You photographer is a whack,
of course.
And
then that makes us look bad, because then again, if you're thinking of if you put yourself in the client situation, in the client's shoes, now that client is going to talk to her friends who will probably be getting married down the road, and then their friends, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, if you think about it, if a client looks up for a photographer and they find this particular photographer, right, on Google or whatever, what's the first thing they're going to find? They're going to find this story, right? So in my opinion, I feel the photographer is shooting herself in the foot here, because she is now showing the world that I'm going to stick to my guns no matter what, right? And I'm always right, and I'm not going to please you, right? You're going to pay me all this money, but it's my way or the highway.
Okay, so right? If this was you, David, and if your bride was like her and she said, "Give me the film, give me the negatives, bro," I would you?
So on my contract, which I'm looking at it right now, on my contract, I do state that if you want the film, right, the actual negatives,
yeah,
I charge half of what
package
you paid me, right, or whatever the package was, right?
Okay.
And that's just the way. And again, it's like, bro, if you want them, I'll just give them to you. Just, that's nice. I don't care, But the only reason why I like to hold on to them is, just in case something happens, hard drives or whatever. I have.
But then you make them sign a contract, say, "Look, I'm not responsible because I'm giving you the shit."
Yes, I do tell them, hey, if I sell you the negatives, that's it. Like, you cannot contact.
You can't come back because I don't have them.
Because I don't have them. Like, that's it.
So what you should also do is also, even if they don't take the negatives, you should also do like a time frame of which they can't come and ask you for photos, like an hour, a year later or something. I'm not responsible for them, because hey, anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
You might just someone could break into your house and steal all your photo negatives. What are you gonna do?
Or the house can catch on fire.
Yeah, right. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So you got to have this in your contract. That's kind of iffy, bro, because when you shoot film, bro, there's really no way of duplicating the image.
No,
unless you digitally scan it. And
they are scanned. They're scanned, and that, obviously, just like a digital photographer would, I have multiple copies of those files on different hard drives. So I try to be redundant as possible on that part.
That's crazy, but I mean, just to think about that, like. $4,000 just to give it. Like, I know the principle. I know why photographers do this. The reason why they do this is because they don't want some amateur lightrooming the hell out of their shots, for crapping all over their raw file, making a print, and then so and so comes to their house and says, "Oh, who took this wedding photo? Oh, it was so and so photography." Really, it sucks. There's so much.
I know, right?
Weird.
And at that point, I would say, you know what? Have them, but just don't tag me on anything. Don't tell anybody who took them. Like,
if you're gonna edit them yourself, I don't know what your editing style is. But the thing is, you can edit with JPEG too. Like, you can edit with the files that you actually give the client, the high-res JPEGs. You can actually edit that too. So
the film scans that I get back, they're all JPEGs, and that's what I edit.
So I don't see the argument there. I don't know what the benefit of holding on to a raw file is as a photographer. No, I mean, as a photographer, I don't care as long as you pay me for my duties that day, right? And I get paid. Giving a raw file to a client, why photographers make a big deal out of this? Please leave it in the comments, all you wedding photographers. I want to know why you do this. Is it because you want to upsell to the client? Is this the reason why you do this? Tell me. And it sounds like this photographer, this photographer that took care of this lady, seems like she's trying to upsell,
of course,
heck out of this shit.
And again, you know, I'm a little bit guilty on that because my raw files are the negatives, and I say that a little bit earlier. I do charge for those, but if the client really wants something, you know, it's like here, but sign here, you know, saying that I'm done, right? Like our contract is over. So I don't know, man. Like it's weird.
Here's a nice film comment from Charles Morris for you.
Temper resistant. Well, yeah, I don't have any local labs either. Like, I send all my stuff out, kind of locally, not here, like in my little town, but I do send it, you know, down to LA. So,
Albert Jimenez, many people are hiring film photographers because they don't want to be accused of having AI generated images, which is beneficial to me. Yeah, good point.
Okay, that's a good point.
Good point. Quinceañeras are all the work of a wedding minus the groom.
Exactly.
It's the same work.
I'm telling you, it's the same amount of work. So, but people who, and I'm gonna, you know, I hate to make this a race thing, but it's mostly Mexicans who do quinceañeras. I'm Mexican, by the way. If anybody doesn't know, I was born and raised in Oaxaca, Mexico. So don't be saying, oh, this guy's a racist. And in Spanish we say la raza, or the race, which is really interesting. You know, if you want to talk about races, you know, look at Mexicans. They're the most racist people in the world. But anyway. It's a different story. La raza, Mexicans, you know, again, because it's a quinceañera, they come to you saying, well, you know, it's not a wedding, but you try to explain to them, it's like, yeah, but homegirl, like, I'm going to be there at 9 a.m. You know, I'm going to be there at 10 a.m.
It's not a wedding, bro. Why are you charging me wedding prices?
You know,
it's the same work. I hate it when clients actually say it's only going to be 150 people. What does that have to do with my work?
What does that have to do with anything? I'm still going to be there from X amount of time, and I'm
It's not
probably
a big
not going to
wedding.
leave until 1 a.m. or whatever. So
It's not a big wedding. Why are you charging me big wedding prices? It doesn't matter how many people you are at a wedding. You're still doing the same thing. It's not like I'm going to go and photograph every single guest. And by the way, I don't do that. I tell the clients I'm not going table to table, photographing every table. I don't do that. This is not 1980.
But you know what? I do that. I do it because the only reason why I do it is because I feel that
when
it comes to
400, 500 people weddings.
Okay, I do have to emphasize that I only photograph now after I rebranded, because again, it's all clear, crystal clear on my website. I only photograph weddings up to 120 guests.
What?
That's it. That's where I cap it. Yeah, that's where I
cap it. What the hell?
No, really. Yeah, you go to my website right now. Go to thedrunkweddingphotographer.com and you go to pricing, and then it says, I'm going to charge you this. I'm going to charge you $4,500 for a wedding of 120 guests. And I'm going to charge you this amount for a wedding of 50 guests if it's a backyard wedding.
So if somebody comes and says, hey, my wedding's 200 people. I
won't do it.
Wow. That is very rare that you have a cap like that.
Yeah, that's my cap. And again, that's from years of having photographed small weddings, elopements, backyard weddings.
But you're shooting yourself in the foot, though.
No, yes and no. Yes and no. Because again, it's like my niche, as I said, is film, right? So that's already segregating a huge portion of the market, right? So people who appreciate film and physical media, they're very far in between, right? And so if you know that you're a type of client who appreciates physical media and film, you're probably not going to have a big production wedding. You get what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to have a ballroom wedding. You're probably going to have a very intimate wedding of your closest friends, right? And again, I spent 3 years doing all this market research, and so far, knock on wood, it's worked out okay. So I figured out, like, okay, if this type of client has, because they typically have small weddings, right? They usually never have big weddings. They usually, what they spend their money on is on their suit and their dress.
Yeah.
Not so much on the venue, not so much on, you know, like the flowers or, you know, fireworks, etc. Like they usually have a very intimate wedding, and they focus more on the marriage more than the wedding, if that makes sense. So
there you go. Proof of ownership and copyright. I guess this is why, I mean, I wasn't thinking in terms of because weddings usually,
I mean,
copyright for weddings, because that photo is not going to go global, or you're not
I
going to
mean,
make any ad money from it.
unless okay, and this is again going back to niche. Unless you know ahead of time that the client is going to publish those photos on Vogue, Vanity Fair, etc., then yes, I would be sticking to my guns on handing over the negatives or the original raw files, right? But if it's just like, again, I have to use the word normie. If it's just like your average normie client, they're not going to get picked up by Vogue. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like I didn't think of this, Charles. Like I didn't
Mhm.
really think of this as for weddings. Like, oh well, you have the ownership and copyright. No, I think of like studio portraits as that, or something like fashion, or for
Commercial,
weddings,
like
yeah,
if you do like,
commercial, like
yeah,
but for wedding product. But for weddings, it's like I never had a wedding photo of mine go and they use it on a billboard or a magazine. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know, but he's right. Charles has a
yeah. It's
that's
a very
why.
good point. Yeah, it's a very
Very
good
good
point.
point.
Mhm.
Very good point.
But again, as I said, like unless you know the client is fashion forward, well connected, and that you know that she has ambition to get published in Vanity Fair, Vogue, Martha Stewart Brides, etc., etc., then yeah, I would stick to my guns on that.
But I
They,
mean,
they
if
usually let you know ahead of time.
but if push comes to shove and
Mhm.
you actually that photo goes viral somehow and you're not getting paid for it or whatever, of course there's a way of you proving you were the photographer. Like if you need to go to court and get the rights to the photograph,
Mhm.
let's say you need to take Pepsi to court or something, right?
Yeah.
Because they used it for a billboard ad. In court, you will prove that you were the photographer and you took the picture. You have
Yeah.
200 people as your witness. You're the photograph. You have the
Here's my
contract.
little BTS video that I shot. Hey, I'm over
This
here
is
at
the
Pepsi.
bride. This
Yeah.
is the bride. This is the contract.
Mhm.
You get the bride in the courtroom. Did you have so and so take your pictures? Yes, I did. Boom. That's it. You'll win the case.
Yeah.
So I get that. Let me play the final clip I have here.
Okay, and while you play that, I'm gonna take a quick little restroom break while you do
Sure.
that.
Go statement.
Whether or not her Instagram is showing that it's her editing style or not, okay? This photo over here with my eyes sunken in and I look like I have a black eye. Please explain to me how a photographer thought that looks good. Once I got the raw image, I turned it into this, okay, myself. I even had to go into Photoshop, and I'm not a photographer, and I'm not good at Photoshop either. I learned how to use Photoshop, and I circled my eyes, and I made my eyes brighter. It's the simple things like that. There's only maybe 10 pictures of solo bride me, and she couldn't make sure that that my eyes didn't look like I got punched in like a black eye. You know what I mean? So there is something to do with editing style and versus the Instagram. However, there's also something about delivering photos to your customer that makes sure that specific person looks good. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't look like she has a black eye. And look, at the end of the day, I made a mistake.
Yeah. By the way, Ryan Troy, I love your facial expressions there. Again, this was just, I feel like when you're using presets like this as a wedding photographer, presets for me, they're marketed as a way for a photographer to deliver edited photos in a fast amount of time. I believe that this is a case of just adding presets, moving on, adding presets, moving on. So the black eye thing is real. I saw that, and those photos do not look good. Fill flash or reflector will eliminate that look altogether. That's why when people go, "Oh, I'm a natural light photographer for weddings," it tells me that you're a lazy photographer. So that just means you're a lazy photographer. You don't want to use a strobe. You don't want to learn strobe. You don't want to use off-camera flash. And take a course on off-camera flash, man. There's no such thing as a natural light photographer in a wedding setting. You need to learn strobe. You'll eliminate those raccoon eyes. The situation where she is showing there in those examples. And again, if you're charging $8,000 to $9,000 to $10,000 for a wedding, there's no excuse for you not having work to show that you were a $10,000 photographer. So, I understand. I have to side with the bride here. I'm sorry. I have to side with the bride. So that's my conclusion. It should have never escalated to the point where it escalated. There's a way of de-escalating these situations with clients right away, and it was a failure from the photographer's, side.
Yeah.
I understand she's busy. I understand that she's doesn't have time for all this. And some photographers, they make it sound like they're the president. Oh, you got to make an appointment to speak with me. Talk to my assistant. Come on, bro. I'm a wedding photographer. I'll talk crap about wedding photography. You're just a wedding photographer, bro. Like, chill out. All right.
You're just a help.
No, what I'm saying is, like, what is this? Oh, talk to my assistant to make an appointment. 1 p.m. Or I don't have time.
And again, in the spirit of being transparent, one thing again that I've learned over the span of 10 plus years that I've been doing this on and off, just be transparent. Like, people appreciate that, even if they don't book you, because sometimes I have inquiries that come in and they're like, hey, you know what, like, I'm not going to book you, but I wanted to appreciate that you are transparent about pricing, you're transparent about your process, et cetera, and people like that.
Now, I just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
I know transparency is cool, and you should be transparent, but
as much as you can, at least.
Who's to say that the bride wasn't a pain in the ass
on
at
the wedding day?
Yeah, and she's not. I mean, she's the one complaining, right?
Okay, yeah, because I do have a story about that.
So, like, she was probably a pain in the ass. There might be a chance that she insulted the photographer the day of the wedding, and the photographer says, "You know what? F this. I'm gonna make your life a living hell." You don't know. There's always three sides to every story.
True, but again, it's like you're not being paid to be this person's friend. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're being paid to do your job, right? Even if they offended you, even if they didn't feed you, even whatever the reason, right? You are being paid to show up, take pretty pictures, make the people you were hired by, make them happy, get paid, move on to the next one.
Yeah, but what if the clients or their guests, they cross that line and they really use and abuse you that day? There's a lot of situations where photographers are put in these situations where, like, hey man, like, what did you say? Right? Like, you got to respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, thank God I've never been in that situation before. So
I deal with a lot of hotheads. Usually not the clients, but the clients' guests.
The guests. Yeah.
They drink, they start talking shit.
Yeah.
And they start, photographer, come here. Photographer, come here. Hey, buddy, I have a name, bro. Like, here's my name. You want to call me by my name? Like, what the hell, do you know? And by the way, you didn't hire me, so don't try to boss me around. And then things escalate where words are said and like cuss words are said, and then so weddings.
But again, thank God I haven't been in that situation.
Weddings are a different animal.
They're a toss up.
Yeah. So, so you never know. I don't know the weddings. She could be a pain in the ass client.
Could be.
And kind of sounds like she is. So the photographer's probably like, I don't want to deal with this person. Like, she's making up stories.
But again, it's like, okay, if you don't want to deal with this person, just give her what she wants. And
she wants to make money off her.
Okay, so when was it? I want to say like a month before I rebranded. So this was December 2022. Yeah, December 2022. And before I rebranded, the way the deliverables for my clients were, I give you a set of prints, right? Like, of all the edited photos. And then if you want, you can also download, I don't want to say low res, but, computer resolution digitals, right? The files. And they're like 1,000. So it's like 1 gigabyte. I'm sorry, not 1 gigabyte. How many megabits? It's 1,000 by whatever the short end is. But the point being is that it's big enough to go on a 1080p television if you want to throw it on, a big TV. Anyway, long story short, when the client found out that even though it was in the contract, when they found out, they gave me kind of the same story what this client is saying. Oh, you're holding my photos hostage. What do you want to do with the photos? It's the same story, line by line. And so at that moment, I thought, okay, should I stick to my guns and say, you know what, if you want the full res files plus the negative, because you do get the negatives with the full res files, it's this much. And that's what I sent them. I said, this is how much it costs. And then, dude, they went off. Dude, they sent me like an essay email. And then I thought about it. I was like, all right, should I keep going or should I just give them the files? And obviously they're already upset, right, at that point. So they're not going to give me a 5-star review. They're not going to recommend me to their friends, right? So it's like, is it really worth the fight? And at that point, I made a decision. I was like, you know what? No, it's not worth the fight. I'm just going to give them what they want. I gave them the files, and that's it. Like, hands are clean. They're happy. They didn't go online.
But
Obviously,
I guess it's a thing where some photographers would say, hey, you know what? It's not fair for the other clients that I refused.
True. Yeah, it is not.
Them?
Yeah.
Well, that's
But the reason why I made an exception on this one, is because they are the grandsons, or the bride, at least. She's the granddaughter of a very high-end venue in Malibu, and they have weddings like every fucking weekend. So I was like, man, like, do I really want to be on the blacklist of somebody like that? I mean, I'm not going to be on the good list, obviously, but I definitely don't want to be on the blacklist. You get what I'm saying? So I'd rather just be neutral and just, nip it in the bud, call it the day. But the saving grace was that wedding was eventually picked up by the White Wren. So at least I got some advertisement out of it. But,
yeah. I mean, hey,
but it's case by case, like you have to really think about, like, is it worth sticking to your guns, or is it just, is it worth just nip it in the bud and walk away?
Yeah. Every photographer has
count your blessings, cut your losses, as they say.
Every photographer has their policy.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's a good policy to half what you charge is fine for the raw files. But to me, it's like case by case. Just make it known that if you want the raws. And one thing I would tell you guys is this, and this is my advice. You could disagree with this. That's fine. When I deliver the high-res photos to a client, the photos are very clean, meaning there's no presets. It's clean. It looks like it's not edited. The only edits that I make for clients is exposure if I need to, cropping if I have to make the line straight, and sometimes it's crooked. But
that's one of my pet peeves. When I see a photographer's portfolio and the
horizon, that's fine. That's the only thing. I like to deliver clean, natural images to my clients, and that's kind of like my style. If I want to edit it for my portfolio later on, sure. But when I deliver the photos, they're clean, they're nice, they're sharp,
neutral.
They're very neutral, and that's it. Sometimes I make the colors pop. You know what? If I have to do something, like if I have to make a heavy edit on something, and I think that it really brings out the image, I will give the client the regular JPEG, and then I'll give the client the enhanced JPEG. If I spent 20 minutes on a photo, I'll give them that too. That's my edit,
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's what I do. I don't add on these filters and all this. I don't give them that. I just don't give them that.
Okay. Well, I do use filters, but the only reason why I use filters and then it's because obviously I shoot on film, and then when I do use digital, I try to make the digital files look as close to the film scans as possible. And is Albert still here?
Yeah, he probably is.
So yes, weddings are a hassle, but they're very rewarding, and they pay $5, so it's worth the hassle. It is worth. Well, okay, look.
Every photographer, if you're making money on photography,
It's
if
a
you have
hassle.
clients,
Any
it's a
genre
hassle.
is a hassle.
You think
Any-
weddings are a hassle? You go work for Vogue.
Go
They'll
work for the
kick your
fashion
ass.
industry, dude. If you work for the because I worked for the fashion industry for a year and I couldn't handle it. You know,
They'll kick your ass.
they
Every
will.
little inch
Mhm.
detail, every little hair on the model's head,
centimeter.
every little hair, every
Mhm.
little turn. Just that's hassle. You know,
I couldn't handle it. I mean, yeah, the pay was great. We went to
Product
Vegas
photography.
twice.
Have you ever photographed watches or something? Oh my god, they want every single
How?
detail photoshopped on a watch.
Oh yeah,
Like it's crazy work.
yeah. Any genre where you deal with creative directors, where you deal with clients, you know, when you deal
Sports
with
photography. You didn't capture that moment. What the hell? You're fired. You know, where's the moment of him swinging the bat or whatever?
yeah.
Um,
And again, I know
only-
you say you don't want to get political, but you know what happened, you know, a week ago with Donald Trump, you know, had the photographers not capture what was going on. You think they still would have had their job? Heck no. You know,
dude,
like
that photograph is all over.
You're
That photograph.
there to produce. You're there to deliver. You know, regardless of the genre, regardless of who your client is. You know, like
that
you
photograph.
are.
That photograph is everywhere. On T-shirts.
Mhm.
They just did a hearing this morning on the Secret Service. They were questioning.
Mrs. Cheetah.
Yeah, they were questioning her.
Yeah,
and behind the reps there, they had that photo of.
yeah.
Dude, that photo is everywhere. The most iconic
dude, like
photo.
they're going to be talking about that photo. And again, whatever your politics are,
Can you imagine?
That photo is going to be talked about, you know, for 20 years, 30 years. We are going to be long gone, and they're still going to be talking about that photo.
Can you imagine like that? Like, I could just imagine your life right now if you took that shot. Like, you'd be booked for interviews. Like, your stardom. Like, your
And it's funny because
stars.
we were talking about raw files, right? Like, can you imagine what that raw file is worth? You know, like
Holy smokes! Or that card that file was,
or the
actually,
memory card. The memory card.
I would not format that. What's his name? What was his name? V6? I forgot his name. But anyway, the photographer that took that shot, do not format that card. That card is worth big bucks.
I actually looked that up before we hopped in because I wanted to talk about something similar to it.
Dude, I'm telling you,
photographer.
And I don't know the odds and ends of photojournalism, who has the rights, how if you can make money. I've heard pretty negative stories about that.
It's weird because I think when a photo like that becomes that viral, it's just you just let it go. Like, because I mean, really, are you
know how he can make money though? He can make money speaking to photographers.
True, and I don't know who was. I think on a huge shout out to Mr. Constantine on Grace of Westminster a couple of days ago, that they wanted to talk about controversial takes, and I was going to talk about that, but I was like, you know what, maybe that's a little too controversial for the channel because they do try to keep it a little mainstream. But I think that the saving grace of all this is that this is going to inspire Generation Alpha, Generation C to get into photography, to get into photojournalism or into politics, either or, because I feel that
I'm inspired. I'm inspired to go out in these political things and photograph.
And again, regardless of what your politics are, you can't deny, the gravity of what happened. You can't deny, like the ramifications that we still haven't seen, that we're going to see down the road.
Hey, by the way, people are making a big deal that it was a Sony. You can pretty much capture that even if it was any camera.
I mean,
camera doesn't matter.
You could have photographed it on a Holga. Again, it goes back to
no. I'm talking about like the modern speed cameras.
Of course. But what I'm saying is, like, if you give that same photographer a Holga, like, he still would have caught it because he already knew, like, the instinct, the experience. Like, he already knew where to stand. He kind of he predicted what was going to happen. Like he had that foresight. But that's where the experience kicks in. And again, going back to what we were talking about with the Sepia Bride thing, You know, it's like if you're a client and you're paying X amount of money to your photographer, you would expect that they have the experience and the foresight, you know, to capture what it is that you're paying them for, even though, you know, sometimes, like I said earlier, you know, the video team blocked my way, but that's a different story. But yeah, like, and another thing I wanted to talk about on the Grace of Westminster live stream was that, and again, I hate to talk about profit and you know, in a situation like this, but this would be a perfect time for camera manufacturers to make a press version of their cameras, you know, like they used to do with the F3, with the F4. You know, if anything, it's just to kind of get a little bit extra money.
Yeah. You wanted to talk about one other thing right after, but what's your conclusion in the Sepia Bride situation? Who do you side with again? Like, who do you?
I side more with the client on this one. Only because I have been in those situations where, as I said earlier, you know, about before rebranding, you know, I was in a situation where the client demanded something and it wasn't what I deliver, but you know, you kind of have to, you know, think about, if I don't deliver, what are the ramifications down the road, you know, because she's going to tell, hey, by the way, if this guy comes in, he's trouble, or he's not easy to work with. You get what I'm saying? Like, and look, and the reason why I'm saying that is because look at my name. It's the drunk wedding photographer. That already turns off a lot of people, you know? So
Yeah, that, and then not photographing weddings over 120 guests. Like, you're really
right? Like,
very
I'm already
niche there, bro.
super niche. So it's like every single time that I neglect to make the client happy on any of their demands, it's like, man, that's like one step less that I'm getting pushed down the ladder. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah. So on this case, I do side with the client, only because I feel that what she demanded wasn't, it wasn't
not a big deal.
a big deal, because all she wanted, again, and I don't know how the story ended, because
she said, look, quote unquote, she says,
yeah,
I like the photographs. You know, I
I
like
just
that
don't
she
like the
captured
color.
the moment. She just doesn't like the editing and the colors and the
And it's like, dude, like really, like you're not gonna be happy with an extra $1,000. Like the client is paying you an extra $1,000. What you can do, send it off to India, have somebody edit them there for like what, like 2 cents a piece. I don't know how much they charge, you know, when you do like the batch processing, you know. And if something needs to be, you know, retouched or whatever, like just pay them like an extra $1. You
No,
get
but
what I'm
she
saying?
said,
It's
let me
like,
pick 40 to 50 of my favorite for the album.
yeah,
Which is not a big deal.
which I don't think it was so far fetched or like
Well,
over demanding, in my opinion.
I think she wanted more of a natural look to her photos than
Which,
mud she got.
yeah, because again, if we go back to the first clip where she said she wanted light and airy, she did. I feel that she did want light and airy, but it wasn't what the photographer was going to deliver. And I think that's where the photographer failed, because if I was the photographer, I would say, you know what? You keep saying light and airy. I don't do light and airy. So I feel that that's where the photographer was wrong, because she should have nipped that in the bud right in there during the consultation and said, you keep using that word, but I don't think you know what it means. Let me show you what light and airy is. And this is what light and airy is. And this is what my edit is. You get what I'm saying? Like, and I was in that situation before. Like, in fact, just recently, like 2 months, like, no, not even like a month ago, I had a client come in and they were like, we want film, et cetera, et cetera. We like your work. And, you know, same thing. I said, hey, send me a mood board of what you have in mind, et cetera, et cetera. We get into the consultation call. And then the fiance, the guy, he was like, I'm not seeing X, Y, and Z. Like what he wanted more like overproduced, you know, frame within a frame, you know, where like the veil is flying. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't do that. And I told him, look, I don't do that because I work alone. You know, like the reasons why I keep my prices low compared to my competitors who also use film is because I work alone. Like I could charge you more and I could bring in an assistant and a second photographer and we can take care of all of that for you. And then he was like, oh, well, you know, like that's, you know, I kind of already had an expectation that I was going to pay this. It's like, well, yeah, but the reason why you're paying more money is because, you know, you're getting a team. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's not because I don't want to work in a team. It's because I want to keep my prices as low as possible, because I already know that you're already spending, X amount on your wedding. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that's where the photographer failed. I feel that she just wanted the job so badly, or she didn't really consider the client's point of view. Like, I feel that she failed in the fact that.
But again, the client seems a little over dramatic and a little, if you want to call it bitchy, I'll say that word.
Could be.
But
because back in 2015, I had a client, and this is an Asian client, and the reason why I make it, we have to say Asian client, is because it was a 500 guest wedding, and that was the first and last time I photographed a 500 guest wedding. So at that time, I only, and this was back in like 2014, give or take, and at that time I only charged $150 an hour, which was still pretty cheap compared to what people were charging at then. And what we did, I think we agreed to do, the engagement session a week before, and then we would do the wedding the week after. And for the record, I no longer do engagement sessions. What I do now is I do the rehearsal dinners, because again, the clients that I book, they rather have the rehearsal dinner coverage than an engagement photo, but that's marketing. That's a different story. Anyway, so client shows up, right? They show up 2 hours late, right, to our agreed upon location. She shows up with no makeup, zero makeup. And she said, I kid you not, I still remember this. She says, I didn't put any makeup on because I thought you were going to Photoshop it in. And I'm like, who told you that? Like, well, where did you get that from? And then that's when she starts talking about like the filters and, because she could do it on her phone. So she thought I could do it on my camera. And I told her, I use film. Right? Like, whatever you see is what you get. Anyway, and they were already unsatisfied then. And long story short, when it came down to their wedding, like they said it was going to be a small wedding, but it ended up being 500 guests. And then they were still unhappy because I didn't photograph all 500 people that were in attendance of their wedding. So I was like, oh,
nah, see,
well,
yeah, hey, man, one other thing you wanted to talk about? It's already approaching an hour and a half.
Oh yeah.
I want to cut it at 1 hour and a half.
All
That's
right.
my goal for the new channel is not going past that. But by the way, guys, leave it in the comments for those of you that are gonna watch this after the fact. I want to know your take. Do you side with the bride or the photographer? Just leave it in the comments. I side with the bride or I side with the photographer. Let me know what you think. What were you gonna say, Dave?
Well, I have a real ghost story to finish off, even though it's nowhere near Halloween, but because on my Instagram I did post, hey, come in and I'll talk about a real ghost story. And it's funny because it's like we always push it towards the end. All right, so really quickly, this is a real ghost story, and I don't believe in ghosts, not anymore. I used to, not anymore, but that's a different conversation. So there was a place called Sorrow Studio, right? And it's funny because that's where we unbeknownst, no, what is that word? Not unbeknownstly
To ourselves, yeah.
Right? Like I saw you, you saw me, but we didn't know who we were at the time. Yeah. And this was back in 2014, 2015. So for anybody who doesn't know, Sorrow Studio, it doesn't exist anymore. It's long gone. And it was a wedding photography studio in Glendale. And the way it was designed, it was, it was like a big corridor, right? So it's like, here's the front. And then, you go down the corridor, and this is where my office was. And then you go, down the corridor, this is where the restroom was in the middle. And then you go down, this is where the photo lab was, right? Like at the end of the building. And I've been in the photo industry as a lab technician, printing photos since like 2005, like summer 2005. And then I don't remember the name of the company, but the name of the company, no, the purpose of the company was that they would deliver photochemicals and paper to photo labs. And it was a Korean-based company. And the delivery driver at the time, he was the same guy for all of Southern California, right? So when I worked at Sammy's Camera, when I worked at Ritz Camera, Kenyatta Camera, and then at Sara Studio, I would always see the same delivery guy come in. It was an older Korean guy. He would come in every single, I want to say like at least once a month. But I don't think he ever remembered me, right? Because sometimes my hair was like this, sometimes it was combed. So I don't think but I remembered him. So when was it? In 2015, was it? Yeah, I think it was in 2015 or 2014. I can't remember exactly what year it was. It was a long time ago. It was super hot. Korean guy made his delivery, and then he went back to his truck. And I think it was like around 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, so I was in the lab, right? Like if you remember my little layout, here's the front, and the lab was already all the way in the back. And I was in the lab, and then the editor came in. She came rushing in. She's Armenian, so she had like very thick accent English, and she came in, and she was like, David, no, David, because in Armenian you don't say David, you say David. Right. And she would say, she said, David, Korean guy, he died. The Korean guy died. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. And we all knew who he was. So she tells me that the Korean guy had passed away in his van. Right. So, I go over there because it was just me, her, and the lab guy that day. And so I go over there. And yeah, the Korean guy is passed out on the truck, on his little delivery van. And so we try to open the door. I think we end up calling, I don't know who we called. We called somebody to like pry open the door. Anyway, long story short, they opened the door. He unfortunately passed away. They said it was a heat stroke because it was super hot that day. It was in the middle of summer. And then I want to say like a few months after, when you would go into the restroom, because the restroom, the way it was designed, it was like one little block. Right, it was a little block, and then you would go into the men's restroom or into the ladies' restroom, and you had to turn the lights on for each one. So every time you walk in, and you would do your business or whatever, and you will walk out, what are those doors called? From the restroom stalls, they would slam every single time. Like every single time you walk in there, and everybody in the office was scared to go in there by themselves because they all associated with the Korean guy who had passed away. And we would say, well, I don't know, 2 + 2 makes 4, right? Like, did he stay here? Is it something else, or was it always there and we never noticed until that happened? So who knows? But yeah, to this day, you can walk in there, and if you walk out from the restroom, you'll hear the door slam. Or sometimes you would even hear the door slam before you would walk in. And sometimes, like some of our clients, usually women, some of our women clients, they'll run out, and they'll be like, "Hey, there's somebody in the restroom," and so we will have to walk in there. I will have to walk in there and kind of make sure that there's nobody in there. No, there wasn't anybody in there. So, but again, it happened right after the
guy did.
The Korean guy had passed away. So.
The drunk wedding photographer, ladies and gentlemen. Where do people find you?
You can find me at thedrunkweddingphotographer.com, or you could just type in Drunk Wedding Photographer or The Drunk Wedding Photographer on Google, on Instagram, also on YouTube. I'm going to upload a couple of interview videos that I photographed back in 2017, 2018. They're not photography related. They're just like random conversations. So if you're into that, subscribe, and hopefully down the road I'll upload more photography related videos. But
sounds good, bro.
Yeah, that's where you can find me. Thank you.
Well, David, thank you for
thank you.
And thank you everybody in the chat that participated in this live show. Next week I will be back on Tuesday. There's a surprise next week if it goes through. It's a treat for all you photographers that are into history, the legends. I'm working on something where I'm actually talking to the next of kin of a legendary, one of the most legendary photographer friend, next of kin. So we're communicating, and if you like history, if you like some of the legendary portraits that were made in the past. You will like that show. Now, the guest is shy, and she is shy. She's a daughter of a legend, and she's shy. So I offered to. Oh, my camera just died. Anyway, I offered to. You still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I offered to do a pre-recording of the show. So next week's show might be pre-recorded with it may be premiered so we could chat like this. So yeah, she's shy. So I offered the pre-recording version. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll let you guys know. All right, guys. Sorry my camera's gone, but thank you, everybody. David, thank you. It's always a pleasure speaking with you and everybody in the chat. Again, leave a comment down below. Let me know you sided with the bride or the photographer with this story. And we'll see you next week. All right. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll catch you later. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dave.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.